Hi, Valerie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself and what makes you want to write.
Okay, well, I've been through a lot in life. I'm a mom of four. After my second divorce of being married from like 18 years old and 45 years old, I found myself divorced. I realized I realized a lot about myself. And so unpacking the journey the last 8 years of everything that I wish I would have known back when I was in my teens or 20s were lots of aha moments and things that I've learned. So now I like to write it out and go back and help other people. I wish I would have had what do you want to say, like a manual, like, okay, if you do this, this, and this, this will help you get here. Or if you're doing this, this, and this is why this is happening. So over the last 8 years, I've really, when I say taken a time out, like I've been by myself. I've only dated once for a 2 year window. So we're saying I've had 6 years of just really working on myself, and it's just taken that long to get to where I'm at today. But now I've worked through my stuff and can't even explain like how the joy and the happiness and in like the clarity and my purpose, and it's a wonderful place to be.
Excellent. Very good. So how many books have you written?
I've written one book and I'm in the process of writing book number two.
Okay, well, tell me all about that one book.
So the one book is called Maximizing Life. My last name is Maksym, and that book, I really wrote out how I went from all those years I talked about of just basically surviving in survival mode. Just, I didn't realize I lived my life just trying to get through the day. Okay, let's get through this day. Let's get through the week. Let's get through. And I did that for so many years, just became my way of life that I just felt so lost in the process. So when I wrote my book, From Going From Surviving to Thriving, the first four chapters I talk about, you know, the four steps that I took. If I were to say there's four main steps to unleashing, which I like to call my inner superhero, my true authentic self, letting myself, be free to be me. I have four steps that I talk about in the very beginning of the book. And then after that, I wrote a formula of goal setting, because then I was like ready to start setting some goals, but my ADD and all over the place. Okay, I need to have it very exact, do this, this, and this. My kids wrote a little bit in my book, and I gave a 30-day challenge. So that's kind of the way the book is set up. But in the beginning, I think the very first chapter, I had something happen to me that's never happened before. I was driving out of my neighborhood, and this, I don't know what you want to call it. If you're, something just came to me. It just like it spoke to me. So I stopped, I pulled over, and I recorded what it said. And I was basically saying my life, I could have taken off and soared in life at any time that I had chosen to, but I chose, and it's not right or wrong, but I chose to hold on to the things of my past, to not forgive, to not let go, to not find closure, to carry resentment, to carry anger. And by doing that, I was so weighed down that it basically said your airplane in life was so weighed down with baggage that you couldn't get off the ground. You couldn't soar because it's too heavy. So in this process of this 8 years, I have worked through things and let one bag out, let the other bag out, forgiveness of myself, forgiveness of others, things I never had closure over. I was able to find closure over. And then it said to me, now that you've freed up all of that heavy weight, now you're going to soar to places you never thought possible, because now you're ready. Now, you are ready as a person because you've let that go to now go to these new heights and these new places. And then after I did that, I'm like, okay, this is all great, but now what?
Mhm.
And so my next chapter is on self-love, what it is, what it isn't. And I didn't realize all those years, the one thing that I was looking for it in the wrong places, but I was looking for self-love. And when I found self-love and I found that my voice mattered, that I'm valuable, I started, without even realizing it, I began to be able to put boundaries up. And so in my past, I would just take however people treated me, and it was okay because I didn't have any boundaries. I didn't know how to say, that's not okay. You're treating me like that. That's not okay. I just, whatever happened, happened. Again, like I was completely surviving. I was in survival mode. So when I really started working on self-love, and it was a process. I will tell you, the first 4 years of trying to study and understand it just didn't feel right to me. It was just a very hard topic for me to really get to the core being. But when I got that, then I also realized these voices in my head telling me, well, you're too old to do that, or you don't have the right education to do that. All these limiting beliefs that were just in your head that you have to identify. And then also, how do you, now when you identify it, then you've got to change it, right? Because those aren't truth. Those are not truthful statements. So that's chapter 3. And then in chapter 4, I really talk about vulnerability and walls, because I was the queen of putting up walls, because I would be very vulnerable, put myself out there, and I would get hurt. And so I would learn, okay, I'm not doing that again, because that did not feel good. And before I knew it, I had so many walls up. And when in my journey, I realized if I want to have success and love and all the things I want, it's impossible unless you're vulnerable. It's impossible unless you can let those walls come down and be able to put yourself out there and do the hard things anyways. And I really feel like when I really found self-love, putting my walls down was a lot easier, because now I don't get as hurt if people do things that I don't necessarily like, because I love myself enough that I look at it differently. I look at it like, okay, that's their journey. Whatever reason, we didn't just line up. They're not meant to be in my life or whatever. And it's okay, where I don't fall apart, where before I would just fall apart. What's wrong with me? Nothing good happens for me. You know, all the negative self-talk. And so that's kind of the premise of the book. Just those first 4 chapters were really what 180 turned me around.
Is this book primarily for women, or can men also benefit from what you've written?
It is for both. I've had teens read it and reach out to me, and oh my goodness, this makes so much sense. Wow. And if you can catch people when they're younger, and it's ironic that you said that, because I've talked to more men in the gym and different places in passing, and when they hear about my book and they've read my book, they open up and they're like, I've never told anybody these things, because I'm a man and I'm supposed to be tough, and I'm not supposed to, be, whatever the stigma is that we have, that, you're not. And you look at it and you're like, okay, but we all have been through traumas and things in life when we're younger, that if we don't take the time out to heal, you never, what do you want to say? You never grow, really. You're like a 16-year-old kid where you got hurt in a 50-year-old man's body, right? So you have to take the time out. And that's what I did. So at 12 years old, I was up with my dad. He was home from the hospital. He had leukemia. He was very sick. And my mom asked if I could get up with and watch him, because she was really tired. And so I got up with him. And long story short, I got him to the restroom. He fell, hit his head, died right in front of me. And I ran to my room and I was like screaming. She runs in the bathroom. She knows what happens, because the doctor told her when you have that leukemia, you'll bleed out and fall. I didn't know that. And we never spoke about it after that. So it was like 12 years old. I see this horrific thing. I never healed from it. I was angry my dad left me at that age. I began to have panic attacks in school immediately in 6th grade. Got very quiet. I wasn't necessarily a quiet person by nature, but I just internalized my dad dying, the panic attacks, the anger. And that really, from 6th grade to getting married right out of high school, I was in survival mode. And you see, I didn't heal. So I wasn't my authentic self. So I'm not being my authentic, fun self. So I'm not attracting the right people. I'm not attracting the right circumstances. I'm not attracting the right opportunities. I'm just taking whatever life wants to throw me, because I'm showing up like as this broken person. And I attracted with someone who was broken. He was always in trouble with the law at 18 years old, 17, and out of jail multiple times. I got pregnant. I married him. You see, by not healing. And then I created patterns in my life all the way till I stopped it at 45 years old and said, okay, time out. Mm-hmm. I'm the common denominator here, attracting all these same things. I've created all these same patterns. So even in relationships, if something were to happen that was very traumatic to me, in the relationship, I would immediately act like it didn't happen, put it under the rug, because that's what I subconsciously learned when my dad died. Like, okay, this happened, you can't handle it, it goes under the rug. If I had you, like my first husband, cheat on me, do something, you put it under the rug. Like, where are we going to dinner? What do we, you're just not even addressing it, because you just can't go there. That pain is too much. So you just rather act like it didn't happen. And then by doing that, you're teaching people how to treat you. So then you wonder, well, why do they keep doing this? And why do I keep attracting people that do these things to me? And it's like, well, you've allowed it. And again, I had no self-love, I had no boundaries. So in my book and when I speak places, my whole heart is to help people understand the importance of being authentic and true to yourself, because it's a process, it's a journey. I don't feel like you ever totally get there, but when you're on that journey, you start attracting the things that are for you at that moment, that time. You're showing up as you. And I cannot tell you, this last year has really been the first full year that I've been truly authentic to myself. And, sometimes it does get hard because you're like, oh gosh, I'm just being me. And maybe not everybody you like is receptive to it or whatever. But at the end of the day, I can sleep good knowing that I'm showing up, I'm being me, I have a voice, I'm sharing, my input. And I'm not going to apologize for that. A lot of times we want to apologize to people for everything, like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do that right, or this or that. And so just through this journey, just realizing it's such an important thing, finding your purpose, your passion, your self-love, like it all goes together. But getting back to being that authentic self that you were created to be on this earth. We all have different gifts and talents and reasons for being here. But it's kind of sad when you think about it, how many people don't ever take the time out to even try to figure that out, right? Or even try to even know that that's possible for them. That, what do you mean? Like, I have gifts and talents and, just I'm allowed to just be me, and so that's kind of the whole premise of that book, Maximizing Life. So every area of your life, taking it to the next level, whether it's mentally, emotionally, in relationships, financially, in health, health and, your exercise, your body, just being mindful of all the areas of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Try to be balanced into, expand your thinking on those topics.
I heard you
Mhm.
say that you need to be true to yourself. I hear that a lot. I figured things out myself too, and one of the things I figured out was, in order to be true to myself, I have to figure out who I am. How can I be true to something I may not understand? Did you
Mhm.
cover that in your book to explain how to find yourself so that you can be true to yourself?
That's kind of more my second book that
Ah,
I'm working on right now. So my second book is actually called Unleash Your Inner Superhero. We all have one, that inner, what that means, what it looks like. So I am working on that because I did talk a little bit about that in my book. So now I'm going to branch off and really go into more in depth of what that means. And, I think when people can find their purpose and, go through and just really, what excites you, what brings you passion, even if you didn't get paid to do it. I mean, are you in musical things, or are you, in theater? Like, what really drives your passion? And, I feel like if people can find their passion, and even just whatever, how much time you have to take to find that, what I like to tell people, I'm like, okay, let's just say there's a tree in the middle of all this grassy field. There's a tree out there. And I were to tell you, okay, your passion is in a treasure chest under that tree. So you've got to go dig and you're going to find your treasure chest, and it's going to tell your passion. And so you get out there and you're digging, and maybe you don't find it. So you go to the other side, you're digging, like you're really intentionally taking time out for you, investing in yourself, trying to figure out what your passion is. And then when you find the passion, you find the treasure chest and you start walking in your passion, then that tree starts blooming fruit. And that fruit is your happiness, because you found the passion, you're walking in your passion, and now you're seeing the fruits, that are happening. Like for me, finding, I've known my whole life I was to do something with counseling, helping people, encouraging people. I just wasn't really sure what it was. So life coaching is my heartbeat. It's like what I would do whether I got paid or didn't get paid. And by doing that and walking in it and writing programs and helping people, my fruit starts, growing, because like, oh, this person's life just went from this to this, and that's so exciting, right? And when you're walking in your passion, you're able to, even if it's on financial levels or whatever, then you're able to help more people, and you're just doing what you're called to do. And when people can get to that point and they feel like that they matter, I really think that from what I've seen with helping people, it's literally like a 180 turnaround in their life, because it's an aha moment of, oh, wow, and like all this other stuff doesn't really matter.
yeah. Beautiful.
So
Beautiful stuff. When did this book of yours get published?
October of 22, so it's fairly new.
Okay. And how
Yes.
are sales are doing for you?
I'm not going to complain. They're doing good. I would like them to, obviously I wanted to get out and do some more book signings and, get it going a little bit more. I've been a one-man show as far
Mhm.
as my marketing and where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I do have my local Barnes and Noble is doing a book signing for me
Okay.
in April. So that's exciting. And,
Cool.
and I, get on podcast and share and, yeah,
Excellent.
it's
You
been
say
good.
you're a life coach, or you
Yes.
do that as a full-time job? Is that what you do?
Full time, I'm still doing personal training
Okay.
because when I divorced, I didn't have, I'd never worked. So I did my personal training business. I'm a competitor in bodybuilding.
Okay.
I love that, but I'm transitioning right now. So I'm kind of 50-50
Well,
from that. I've always life coached people, but now I'm really writing programs. I wrote a program called Who Am I? It's a 6-week program.
mhm.
We go through different things to really give you an hour a week of different topics we really get into to break it down
Yeah.
for a person to, like you said, if I don't know who I am, then how am I authentic to me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you've got to figure that out.
Right. Right. And how long have you been transitioning into life coaching? How long?
I've been life coaching for 2 years now.
Okay. And
Mhm.
you're getting good response? You got some good
Oh yeah.
clients?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have my framework for people, but I very much, I listen and obviously I critique it for that person.
Hmm.
I have, like I said, the framework, but the thing is about really getting very clear communication with the person of what they're wanting. We got to know what we're aiming for here in the next 6 weeks. What are you wanting to see happen here? And that way I know how to facilitate each call so that we can continue to keep growing to, have that outcome.
Okay. One more question. You, when did you think, when did you realize that writing a book is what you really ought to do?
That is a funny question because it's one of those things that was in my heart years ago that you're going to write a book that just said you're going to write a book someday. Maybe like as young as 30, like you're going to write a book someday. But I'm like, okay, I don't know. Because in school, I had a very hard time with reading and comprehension. And so reading, writing, comprehension, English, I just passed with the minimal, whatever it was, a D or whatever, to pass it at school was not easy for me. We didn't diagnose ADD and all that back then. So for me to ever say I'm going to write a book, and I literally wrote it all myself. Didn't have a ghostwriter, and I edited it myself. I had someone that was going to help me, and that just fell through as I should have looked further into that. I thought it was a reputable company. So I was either going to quit and be okay, I'm not writing my book because my help just left, or I'm going to do the best I can and write it and just put it out there. And then book 2, I will learn from it and be able to, build off what I learned. So the first book, I designed the cover. I did everything myself.
We're living in a
Yeah,
time now where writing a book, though it's complicated, of course, takes a lot of work, but you can do it, upload it, and you've got a book.
exactly.
Self-publishing has taken off like crazy,
Mm-hmm.
especially during the pandemic. So many people wrote books during that pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
me being one of them. Did you
Yeah.
write this during the pandemic?
I started writing it during the pandemic. Yes, I did because I'm trying to think. So 2022. So I started it in January of 20.
Hmm.
So it took me almost 2 years to finish it. And it's because I really wrote the book like 3 times. Like the first time I wrote it was, you're
Hmm.
ranting and raging everything that was done wrong to you. And you're just like, and then you're reading, you're like, okay, yeah, this is first, but I don't need people to feel sorry for me. I'm not trying to play
The
victim mode
same
here.
thing here, yeah.
And then the second time I wrote it, because someone's like, oh, well, do your fitness, write about your fitness. So trying to intertwine that, but I was like, this doesn't feel right, and then I don't know. Then I was like, okay, I'm just going to kind of write what I've learned. And so then I went the third time and then like, okay, this is it. Or I think you can always, maybe, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I think I could have continued to keep changing it and never published it had I not just said, okay, this is it. This is what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
I
We're
suppose so.
publishing it.
Yeah. There, I had a bit of an edge on that because I've been writing music ever since I've been 17. I've been in so many bands. I was professional for a while. When you're
Oh,
in a
wow.
recording session, there comes a point where you say, this is it. So I
Yeah.
applied that same principle to my book writing. So I kind of
Yeah.
know when it's over, but I know that feeling. It's a while
Yeah,
ago I had like, how do I know when it's done? Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful. Beautiful. I think this is a wonderful interview. I hope you had some fun.
I did. Thank you.
Okay, super. Valerie, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I wish you all the best in the future with your second book. And when you do write it, get back to me. We can talk some more
Okay.
about that one.
I will do that for sure. Thank you.
All right, Valerie. You take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And that's our show for today. If you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that bell for future notifications. And if you are a self-published author, I would really like to speak with you. Until such time, keep on writing and be kind to one another.